What's up everyone, and welcome back to the Top 10 Weakest series. Well, this is it. We've come a super long way, but we're finally here at the finish of this series. Sort of. See, this isn't exactly the final entry, because just as you guys have been expecting, next time I'll be fixing up my top 10 weakest bug type video. I wanted to wait until the end to fix it, because it just felt like the right thing to do. So be on the lookout. Let's focus on today's video though, the highly anticipated Dragon list. This one had a lot of obvious Pokemon that needed to be on it. Really, I just had to spend time figuring out the order. I will say, the first few we talk about, they've got good qualities, even though they are on this list. This might be the one top 10 in this series, where some of these Pokemon are really just here, just because we needed to get to 10. It'll be interesting to see, I guarantee it. So let's waste no more time and get started. Let's begin here at number 10 with the Gen 6 fossil, Tarantum. Now, naturally, since this is the 10th spot, that means Tarantum is the best Pokemon of the day. And really, it was hard to put it on here. It really isn't that bad. I mean, it definitely has flaws, and those cannot be ignored. However, it does some really nice things super well, and those things are just as valid. So, let's start off with the big differentiating factor and the sort of Tarantum you can run, its abilities. Strongjaw versus Rockhead. Now, as you guys know, Strongjaw will power up the many Fang moves Tarantum has access to. Now, on the other hand, Rockhead takes away all recoil damage that would come from moves like Double Edge. Its stats are really solid on the physical end, and honestly, it's faster than I'd expect, but still not great. Its bulk on the special end is pretty non-existent, which is probably the biggest drawback for it. That and the speed issue, of course. It's got just as many weaknesses as resistances, which hurts. Though, the threat of Tarantum out in battle makes it a worthwhile Pokemon to use in something like NU. So, if you're going to use the Strongjaw variant of this Pokemon, which I think is the lesser of the two, moves you'd probably want to use include the Elemental Fangs, Psychic and Poison Fangs, and Crunch. All of them will get that boost, and obviously, there is a lot of coverage there, but nothing Stab. However, if you want an incredibly strong stab move, then use the Rockhead version of Tarantum. It has access to Head Smash, an incredibly powerful rock type move that normally would cause some big recoil, but not with Head Smash. However, it's got low accuracy, which is a big problem. Now the big thing of course above all else is its speed problem, which, while faster than some Pokemon, is still slower than a lot, which could very well work against it. While a move like Close Combat is available to work alongside many of the other moves I've already brought up, it just always isn't enough. That being said, Tarantum still is pretty good, even if it's a gamble from time to time. It's only here because we needed a number 10 Pokemon. Alright, we've got ourselves a Sword and Shield Pokemon on the list now. The big building itself, Duralodon. It's interesting, as you would think with the Steel Dragon typing and its nice 120 special attack, it would be good enough to stay off the list. It even has a pretty solid speed stat at base 85, which is a lot better than you'd think to see out of a Pokemon that looks like this and had its typing. Let's talk about the worst thing about Duralodon though. Its special defense. Its typing leaves it open to a lot of neutral damage from strong special attackers. Ice Beam, Moonblast, Draco Meteor, any of those moves has a real chance of just OHKOing Duralodon immediately. Its move pool is rather odd as well, as its only offensive setup move is Swords Dance. And this big boy definitely is not a physical attacker. Draco Meteor and Flash Cannon are the two good stab moves it has, but with Thunderbolt being its only bit of non-stab coverage, yeah, it leaves a bit to be desired. It can set up Stealth Rocks though, and it is possible to run Thunder Wave and disrupt a lot of Pokemon. That really is all it has going on though, and lucky for it, it does what little it does relatively well in the lower tiers. So it is where it is on the list today. I'd consider myself pretty damn lucky if I were a Duralodon. Oh god, we've got another legendary Pokemon on one of these lists. If you remember back on the normal list, we had Regigigas make an appearance, and it was highly warranted. It was completely hurt by its slow start ability, and there was no denying it. However, it isn't the only Regi we're going to be talking about in this series. No, we've got to talk about one of the two new Regis, Reggie Draco. It's really not super great at doing anything other than using dragon moves, which can be a bit of a problem. Reggie Draco's ability, Dragon's Maw, boosts its attack stat by 1.5 times whenever it uses a dragon move. Meaning, if you're pulling out of an Outrage or Dragon Claw, you're doing some massive damage. Speaking of an attack boost though, I should mention that Reggie Draco has 100 in both attack stats, but much like its brother, Regieleki, it struggles to take a hit, sort of. While Regieleki is fast as all hell, Reggie Draco has very average speed, but insane HP, being at base 200. So it's got bulk, but no real defense stats to back up the HP. So its move pool includes strong dragon type moves like Dragon Claw, Outrage, and Dragon Pulse. And it can even work as a late game sweeper by setting up with Dragon Dance. However, it doesn't exactly have much coverage in its move pool. Like, there's Fire and Thunder Fang, and, that's it. I don't want to forget about Dragon Energy either, which does damage the more health that Reggie Draco has. What an impressive signature move. That's really the majority of what Reggie Draco has going on though. It's very much a Dragon-type Pokemon that really only does Dragon-type things. It's best served as a late-game sweeper, but a lot of the types that resist Dragon, or are flat-out immune, will wall it with ease. So while I still consider it one of the better Pokemon on the list, since it's here at number 8, there are definitely a fair amount of drawbacks. Alright, here's one I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for, Dragalgi. I mean, at the end of the day, there are so many dragon types that are better than this thing. That being said, however, it's actually not as bad as perhaps some people think it is. Now, offensively, it isn't anything special on the physical end. However, on the special end, it can actually hit sorta hard. It's just super slow, and that's no good. But at least it can take specially defensive hits. I don't think anyone is sleeping on the great typing this thing has got either, and the defensive prowess it's got. Dragalgi's adaptability powers up some of its great stab moves too, so stuff like Sludge Wave and Draco Meteor are going to absolutely smash when they hit. It has access to Flip Turn, which can be used for pivoting. Pretty successfully, mind you. It gives it a real way to avoid the steel types that would be able to tank everything it does. I guess the things that truly hold it back are the speed and not great HP stat. It's not going to take Psychic and Ground moves well, and there are just so many Pokemon that will outspeed it and crack back with those moves. However, it's still not a useless Pokemon by any means, and it is the cutoff point today, as the rest of the list is pretty bad. Now, if you were waiting for Dragalgi, you were definitely waiting for this one. Dredigan is here, and it's bringing its bizarre design and weird reputation onto the list. What about Dredigan do you want to take advantage of? Perhaps run it with Sheer Force and a Life Orb, and do some damage? Maybe run Rough Skin and a Rocky Helmet, take some hits and chip some damage away? You could essentially make use of its 90 base defenses and set up hazards, and that's all. It feels like a waste of a strong 120 attack, but quite honestly, I think you're better off forgoing the power of Life Orb Sheer Force and just choosing to be defensive. So you get the Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin, you take some hits, you set up Stealth Rocks, and use Glare to paralyze the opponent. You know, when I say it, it sounds less than glamorous. Dredigan is still at the mercy of other dragon types, and fairy types too, which doesn't help its case here. There are not only other dragon types that are capable of doing the stuff it does better, but there are dozens of non-dragon types as well. That's all there is to it. Dredigan is really only useful as a defensive wall that uses chip damage to get through things. But it's in a horrible position that leaves it open to being destroyed by Ice and Fairy special moves. It's a very appropriate closeout to this half of the list. So these next two entries are pretty intertwined, forever linked due to their introductions as version exclusives in Sun and Moon. Here at number 5, we're talking Turdinator. It's a case of crazy physical defense and horrible speed. Not exactly the first time we've talked about something like that. Turdinator's base 135 defense is impressive, but it isn't surrounded by good stats. Its base 91 special attack is merely okay. And the rest? Jeez. Its ability Shell Armor prevents it from being critted, which plays well with the defenses. So, for a physical attacker, it doesn't have a crit to rely on to possibly take down this thing. However, any special attack will wipe the floor with Turdinator. God, 36 speed is so bad, and this leaves it open to so many beatdowns. You know what though? Turdinator does have access to Shell Smash, which allows it to get faster and strengthen its attacks. Now, if you can get Turt out there against a physical attack, that's plenty viable. However, against anything with a competent special stat and literally any kind of speed, it can't be set up. Its move pool doesn't even matter all that much, honestly. What matters is Turdinator has potential to surprise someone in battle, but that surprise won't come often. Let's just move on. And we move on to Drempa, the other side of the Dragon-type exclusives in Generation 7. I honestly thought about Drempa maybe being in the number 1 spot on this list before I did any real research, because it really sticks out as being a subpar dragon. I just don't find Cloud 9 to be a very viable ability, but at least it has access to Sap Sipper, which I think is much better in the grand scheme of things. It boasts an absolutely massive 135 special attack, but has bad defenses for the most part, which is exacerbated by the garbage speed. It can't use that special attack stat if it can't take hits, man. Its speed won't allow it. It has a great move pool, just chock full of coverage like Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, Energy Ball, and Hurricane. There is so much. It's got so much potential that is never really met due to the poor speed, unless something like Trick Room is set up. Though, when it is set up, it's very much open to getting rocked because of its less than ideal defenses. The poor typing Drempa has, the poor speed, the poor defenses, all of it is too much to be overcome. And thus it'll only succeed in battle if it's on a Trick Room team and up against a team with no special walls. That's a very specific circumstance. Here at number 3, we have a tie. A couple of Galarian Pokemon that are part of the same evolutionary branch, Flapple and Appletun. I decided to bond the two of them together into one spot because, well, they're two sides of the same fruit. Let's talk stats first off. Appletun is the slower, bulky option with the 100 base special attack, allowing it to take a couple of hits while it hulks behind most other Pokemon. And then Flapple has better speed that still isn't great and lacks the HP and special defense that Appletun has, but it has more options as an attacker with more balanced stats. Now, here's a big problem. This is not a good typing defensively at all. There is only a few resistances these things have, but major weaknesses to Ice, Fairy, and other dragons is not good. However, Appletun does have thick fat for an ability, which means it can tank some Ice-type moves. Speaking of abilities, the more offensive-minded Flapple has Hustle for an ability, which trades accuracy for power. Now, all that said, here's the bottom line. They have access to moves like Grav Apple, Apple Acid, Outrage, whatever. There is a distinct lack of coverage, and neither of these Pokemon do anything particularly well, and suffer from their typing a lot more than most Pokemon on this list. I don't have much else to say about the Apple Dragons of Galar, unfortunately. They're just really not good. When this video is over, you're all invited for a slice of the thumbnail. We reached the penultimate spot here today with our second weakest Dragon-type Pokemon. It's actually Exeggutor, or to be more specific, it's a Alolan form. I'll keep it short and sweet. It's got a bad typing, as we got into in the last entry. And while it has a great special attack stat with access to good moves that take advantage of it, it's really only good at the bottom tier of Pokemon battling. It's only successful on Trick Room teams, but its weaknesses to strong special attacking typings like Ice, Fairy, and Poison, as well as Dragon and Flying, basically leave it constantly in fear of being knocked out. I don't have anything else to say about this one. It's a completely circumstantial Pokemon, and not great against the majority of other Mons. Sorry, Big Tree Guy. We've come a long way through this list, but finally we're here at number 1. This is an interesting take, and I'll tell you why. Our number 1 worst dragon type was actually on a top 10 strongest list during that initial series. I put Mega Altaria on the top 10 strongest fairy type video way back when, but here on this dragon list in the modern day, it's easy to say it is the worst dragon type. It wasn't bad enough to end up on the flying type list, which totally speaks to the greatness of the dragon typing. If you send Altaria into battle, you shouldn't anticipate it doing anything offensively really. Its defenses are where it shines, and that bright light ain't so bright. It's actually pretty dim. Altaria has mediocre speed, mediocre attacks, and a truly poor HP stat that doesn't back up what little good its defenses offer. It isn't taking any sort of ice type move. Let's get that straight. It does have a fair amount of resistances from its typing, but the weaknesses suck hard. Its natural cure ability is at least something of note since it can switch out of battle and lose any status element. But Cloud 9 is just useless really. If you want to do something to make Altaria be successful, you'll have to just use Roost, Defog, and try to poison opponents. And that's really it. That isn't what you want out of dragons, being the second strongest typing in all of Pokemon. It's easily the most revered typing of all time, and Altaria is a horrible representation of it without the Mega. I'm gonna wrap this up by saying Altaria is probably the best number 1 entry on any of these lists. But don't let that fool you. It's got problems and just is not a good dragon type Pokemon. That's going to do it for another weakest top 10. The dragon typing is done, and that leaves us with just one more video, the redone weakest bug types. Let me know what you guys thought about this one, if I got it right or wrong. If you have a different thought on how the order should be, I want to know. Well, that said, I'll see you guys next time. Hey, welcome to my new outro. A big thank you to everyone for watching the video. I want to give a huge thanks to my phenomenal team, and for the amazing art done each week by Danny the Demon. I couldn't do all this without them. If y'all enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment too. It really helps us out. I have a brand new TikTok for MysticUmbreon, and I've got a goal to get 10k followers over there. If we can hit that goal, I'm going to pick a random video suggested to me by you guys and do it. So go over there and leave a follow. Also, over on MysticSage, we've still got 2 videos going up every weekend. We've got content from My Hero, to Demon Slayer, to Dragon Ball, so come and check it out. And also check out MysticSage on TikTok. Finally, I've got an Amazon store where I sell tons of cool stuff. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm MysticUmbreon, and I'll see you next time with some more amazing Pokemon content.